Have you ever felt like you've been playing small, even though deep down you know you are meant for more? That was me. And for a while, I was doing all the things right. Showing up for my business, helping others shine, I was trying to stay consistent, and something still felt off. And I realized that I was hiding behind my comfort zone. So this year, I decided to do something different. I booked a flight to London to attend the Showtime event hosted by Brand New Magazine and Olivia Morocco, an event where I didn't know a single person in real life. And honestly, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Welcome to the very first episode of Step Into Your Voice, a podcast for women and business moms who are ready to stop dimming their light and start showing up with courage, clarity, and confidence. I am your host, Nina Makaria, and today I'm going to take you behind the scenes of what this London trip taught me about courage, connection, and remembering who I am. Let's start with this question. What brought me to London? It wasn't just about attending an event. For me, it was more about breaking a pattern. For the past couple of years, I realized that I'd been playing safe, waiting for things to click before I went bigger. But deep down, I knew that if I wanted different results, I had to do something different. And this was it. Traveling alone, booking a ticket to a conference where no one knew me, showing up in a room full of women who I admired from afar. I was out of my comfort zone 100%. But I wanted proximity. I wanted to be around like-minded women because even though I work internationally and I've always dreamed of having a global business, there were times where I felt isolated. So I wanted to feel that energy again, the one that reminds you you're not alone and that we are all figuring it out as we go. And during this trip, there was a moment that I will never forget. It was actually after the event, and I woke up the morning after with tears in my eyes, but not from sadness. It was gratitude. And I thought to myself, I am living my dream. This is what I want my life to look like. Traveling, surrounding myself with powerful, inspiring women, and enjoying those little moments, like having an afternoon tea experience, exploring local markets and tasting different foods, or trying out that cute cafe that I saw on Instagram. I wouldn't call myself a foodie, but I do love good food. And I also love the ritual of finding a good spot, tasting something new, and just being present, being in that moment. And this trip reminded me of one of my biggest superpowers, dreaming big and taking action. Somewhere along the way, I'd forgotten that, but in London, it came back. And not only that it came back, it took me to my childhood when, as a kid, I grew up in a communist country where freedom of travel was not a thing, freedom of speech, again, was not existing. And I remember my grandfather used to listen to this radio called Europe Free. It was broadcasted from the US. And I remember people sharing their stories. Some of them were Romanian people who defected the country and were now living in the US or Canada. Others were people from the US and they were sharing what living in a free country means. And in my mind, I had no idea what a border looks like. And Just the fact that I was listening to those stories, especially during those cold nights where I used to hang out outside with my friends, and then I was coming inside a house where it was warm, and sometimes I was half asleep, half awake, and I was listening to those people sharing stories of how it feels to be able to travel the world. And that made me wonder how it would be if one day I would be able to see the world, meet other people, talk to them, have conversations with them, get to know them. What do they eat? What do they think? How are they different? Or are we all similar? I was so curious about this big new life that I was imagining. And to be honest, that little 10-year-old girl is now so very happy for seeing her dream life coming true. Now, something really interesting happened after the event. As I was talking with my bestie who lives in the US, and we often have these conversations, and we realize that as Gen X millennial women, somewhere in between, we've gone through a lot of similar things. We were raised to be modest, to stay quiet, to not take up too much space, and no wonder that today most of us feel uncomfortable on camera or hesitate to share our stories. But there is one thing that I know. Each one of us has a story worth sharing. For me, motherhood changed everything. I was pursuing a different career, but being at home, a stay-at-home mom for more than 5 years made me want being present with my kids for a longer time. And it also made me realize how much I wanted to do something meaningful and fulfilling. I tried going back to jobs, but nothing felt aligned. So I quit my latest job only 9 days in because I knew that I want to pursue a different dream. So I started my business, and I knew it's not going to be easy. But the reason I kept showing up is because I know in community we grow so much faster. And this was one of the reasons I wanted to be in bigger rooms. I wanted to learn from women who are steps ahead, like Lisa Johnson, Charlie Day, some of the amazing speakers who were at this amazing event. And then I want to pass on that wisdom to other women who are just a few steps behind me. Because success is not only about being smarter, it's about being brave enough to go first and then bring others with you. Before I went to this event, I had like a business goal in mind, and I decided that I'm going to hand out a certain number of business cards. It felt silly, but it was my way of challenging myself to connect with other women. And honestly, it was not easy because I'm an introvert, so walking up to someone new and starting a conversation took courage. And here is what happened. One woman came up to me later at the end of the event, and she told me how she noticed that I took the time to hand her my card, and for her, that was a brave thing. And I realized that this tiny comment hit me deeply because it reminded me that we are often making an impact, and sometimes we don't even know that we are doing this because it doesn't look big or flashy. Sometimes it's just those little gestures that stay with you. So instead of beating myself up for not handing out more cards, I decided to celebrate the fact that I did something that used to scare me, and the fact that I had great conversations with some powerful, extraordinary women that I hope I will meet again. Before this trip, I remember sharing in a coaching call that I saw myself as a small fish in a pond. And no one told me that. It was just a story that I was carrying in my head. And in London, I realized something powerful. No one else saw me this way. In fact, people were impressed that I invested not only money but time and energy to show up for myself and to come to this event. And that was the moment I thought, you know what? I actually can do hard things. And I'm grateful for those people who shared their insights with me and let me know that yes, I need to see this for myself, that I can do hard things. I can commit to something that stretches me, scares me, and still come out stronger. And I think this is the message that I want to leave you with today. We need to stop waiting for permission to take up space. We need to stop worrying that we might annoy people by showing up too boldly. You don't need anyone's approval. You already have permission to be who you are. So this episode, this podcast is me granting myself that permission to show up, to use my voice, to take up space, because that's how we grow. So if you've been playing small, if there is something on your heart that feels big and scary, consider this your sign. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take the next brave step. And if you want to walk this journey with me, come hang out with me on Instagram, send me a message, and tell me what's one way you're stepping out of your comfort zone this month or even this year. This is just the beginning, and I'm so happy you are here. Welcome to Step Into Your Voice, and come back next time.